Hello, and welcome back to Timestream. Today, I'm going to talk about this coin. Quite an interesting one, this. This turned up in a Viking hoard in Sweden, but kind of strange writing. Looks Arabic, doesn't it? It looks actually quite a lot like a dirham, and that looks a lot like the Shahada. You'd expect it to say, Muhammad is the messenger of God. It doesn't. It says, Moses is the messenger of God. This is the 10th century AD. Who exactly is stamping coins with the idea that Moses is the messenger of God? Well, to answer this question, we can't really be looking at Sweden. We have to go quite some distance. If you go to the Caucasus, the mountains north of Turkey, if you go to the Crimea on the Black Sea, around this time, you have a very unusual state that's called the Khazar Khanate. And yes, that is the word Khan. You may recognize it from Genghis Khan. Khan is essentially a term that you find applied to the leaders of steppe nomads of horsemen. These guys who arrive from Central Asian steppes proceed to knock over whatever power structures are there and start building their own state. And that's actually kind of what the Khazars are trying to do around this time frame. They're trying to build their own state. How do you do that? When you're starting from scratch, it's really quite a challenge to build a state. But you know what's really helpful? A worldview that says you are in charge because the Lord Almighty says so. It's actually quite useful. You see this in Western Europe. You see the conversions of the Saxons. You see the conversions of the Pomeranians, of the Poles. And the first thing that these groups do when they go Catholic is they write to the Pope and they say, send me a crown. I'm not joking. That's literally the words of the King of Hungary, the first King of Hungary. The Pope gave him a crown. In the East, you've got various groups converting to Islam. In the middle, you've got groups like the various Russian principalities adopting Orthodoxy. Why are they doing this? It's about control. It's about power. You know, gods are one thing, but if you want to be in charge, there are two ways you can do it. You can say, I am the biggest, toughest guy, I will punch you in the face, and you can be in charge. Or you can say, man upstairs says I'm in charge, and you're in charge. Obviously I oversimplify, but one of the things that the organised Abrahamic religions do really well is create a formalised power structure. There are layers. There is a guy at the top, and he has a divine right to be there. So you see basically people adopting it as a political act. It's something you do to make your power more solid. And the Khazar Khanate is really no exception. Around this time they're being actively proselytized by a number of groups. In Cordoba, in the Caliphate in Spain, there is a man called Hasdai ibn Shaprut. He's the foreign secretary to the Caliph. He himself is Jewish. This comes from that time frame where Islamic leaders habitually employed Jewish advisors. And he starts hearing really strange rumours. He'd heard that they were Jewish, which struck him as bizarre. Fantastic, if possible, but bizarre. And Jewish theology around this time is being built on the fact that the Jews are a stateless people. But suddenly, there's a state. What's this about? He gets very curious, and of course he's got some contacts, being the foreign secretary of a major world power. So he gets some letters sent out. Now, sending letters this sort of distance around this time, that's not an easy job. But after a couple of attempts and several months of travel time, he actually gets a reply. Now, the reply is written by a man who calls himself Khan Joseph. So you can see where this is going already. Khan Joseph is pleased to confirm that he is in fact Jewish, that the Khazar Khanate is in fact Jewish, and that it has been for some time. He's got a very interesting explanation for why this has come to be. So the Khazar Khanate finds itself presented with several options. You find Byzantine emissaries requesting that they convert to Orthodoxy, and at the same time they're receiving emissaries from the Caliphate requesting that they convert to Islam. Joseph has a very specific anecdote. he talks about one of his predecessors, a Khan called Bulan. And Bulan is presented with this choice. He first asks the Islamic emissaries, if I were to be a Christian or a Jew, which would you prefer? They all answer, we would prefer that you were Jewish. He asked the Orthodox the same. Would you rather that I became a Muslim or became a Jew? He asked. And they answered, we would prefer that you became a Jew. And then Bulan put it to them that from their own mouths they had both endorsed Judaism. So he converted to Judaism. Very much taking the third option. So Hasdai was obviously pretty pleased with all of this news, but nothing good lasts forever. Don't forget that that coin, we found that in the Spillings hoard in Sweden. And I suppose it could have shown up there through legitimate trade. The Norse who had made Russia their home at this point, yeah, they traded. They did a lot of that. They also did quite a lot of fighting. Like, quite a lot. At this same time, a number of these princes are converting to orthodoxy at Byzantine urging. And all of a sudden, this allows them to craft marriage alliances with the Byzantines. It allows them to align their interests. Let's just say I'm the Prince of Kiev. Hi, I'm the Prince of Kiev. What I'm going to do is I'm going to marry the daughter of the Byzantine Emperor. All of a sudden, our interests are aligned. We are now family. We're now of one blood. We are emotionally and biologically connected. We will act in concert at some points. We can arrange mutual interests. But you're not going to marry heathens. It's the only Jewish state between the fall of the Second Temple and the rise of the modern state of Israel. I mean, they're on their own religiously, and it makes it incredibly hard to do these sorts of marriage alliances, which are, they're the bread and butter of medieval diplomacy. You seal pretty much every deal with a trade of bodies. The Khazar Khanate is in this really awkward situation where it's Jewish, nobody else is Jewish. It makes them an easy target. It means that anybody else who wants to convert to another guy's religion has immediate allies against them. The Alans, in fact, went Orthodox and invaded them a couple of times at Byzantine urging. You can't forge alliances in the same way as groups of larger religious factions can. We don't really know exactly how the Khazars fell. Joseph's letter was written sometime between 950 and 960, and that is the only documentary record from a Khazar that we actually have. We know ultimately that that pressure brought them down, and that there is no longer a Khazar Khanate, and that that coin ended up quite possibly as loot.